Today, we're really trying to cut through all the noise and give you, well, a kind of scientific blueprint for getting the most out of your study time, especially when, time feels like your biggest enemy. This is going to be super practical, aimed right at anyone needing to learn a whole lot fast.
That's right. If you're a learner, maybe prepping for big exams, could be board exams, maybe entrance tests like JE or NEET for engineering or medicine, or even things like the UPSC civil service exams.
Hmm.
You're almost certainly hitting three, let's say, universal roadblocks right now.
Okay, hurdle number one, it's just the sheer amount of stuff, right? Way more syllabus than actual days left on the calendar. We've all been there, that horrible feeling of realizing you wasted time and now it's scramble mode.
Uh-huh. Then there's number two, keeping the information in your head. The retention challenge. You read something, you might even think you get it, but then maybe 2 or 3 days later, try recalling the details. Often it's just gone, vanished.
Yeah, evaporates. And the third one, which maybe doesn't get talked about enough, is the mental game, that internal monologue, the overthinking, the self-doubt, constantly replaying past mistakes. It just freezes you up, stops you from actually, doing the work now.
Exactly. So our deep dive today is built around a specific 3-step process. Think of it as a science-backed method designed precisely to tackle those hurdles. The whole idea is to help you maximize your focus and honestly potentially get really impressive results even if you're starting kind of late.
And this final exam period, it's just so critical. The research we looked at really highlights that super focused strategic work in the last few weeks. That can genuinely be the difference maker. It can push you from an average score to maybe even topping the exam. So I guess the real question for you listening is, are you ready to knuckle down, work hard, and actually use a smarter process?
If the answer is yes, then let's dive straight into the first strategy. And fair warning, it might sound completely wrong when you're panicking about time. Step one is read less.
Whoa, hang on. Read less. When you've got stacks of books and notes left, how is that possibly good advice? Doesn't that just spike the anxiety?
It can feel like it, yeah. But only if you're thinking you need to be some kind of superhuman who can magically read, I don't know, 1,000 pages perfectly in a month.
Yeah.
The typical mistake, the big one, is resource overload. A student starts panicking, right? They call a couple of friends.
Right, and suddenly they've got 6 different books recommended, 3 YouTube lecture series, maybe someone mentioned a crash course.
Exactly. And before you know it, your desk is literally buried under material. You end up trying to just skim the surface of like 10 different things, which means you guarantee you won't know anything really well.
Okay, so that's the problem, spreading yourself way too thin.
The practical truth is, trying to properly read and actually absorb all that stuff in a short time, it's just not feasible for a normal human being. It's impossible. So the solution comes from something called the Pareto principle. You probably know it as the 80-20 rule.
Ah, the 80-20 rule. Yeah, I've heard of it in business, but how does it apply here?
It's surprisingly consistent across almost all exams. Seriously, from class 10 or 12 boards right up to the really tough competitive ones.
Yeah.
What the data tends to show is that roughly 20% of the syllabus at ESEMILOS, the key topics, the core concepts, they account for something like 80% of the actual questions or marks on the final paper.
Wow, 80%. So if you're trying to read everything cover to cover.
You're basically spending 80% of your precious time studying material that's only going to get you maybe 20% of your potential score.
Yeah.
It's inefficient. Yeah. The real challenge then isn't reading more. It's figuring out what is that crucial 20%.
Okay, and you can't just guess, right? That feels risky.
No, definitely don't guess. You need to be objective. You use analysis. Specifically, you look at previous year questions. Let's call it PYQ analysis. You can often find or create chapter-wise breakdowns showing which topics pop up again and again over the last, say, 3, 5, maybe even 10 years.
So you're looking for patterns, high-frequency topics.
Exactly. That analysis immediately flags the high-importance stuff. Then you make a conscious decision. Shift your focus away from trying to cover the entire massive syllabus and instead focus on truly mastering that vital 20%.
And this actually works, like in practice.
We saw some compelling examples. There was this one story of a class 12 student preparing for their board exams. They'd apparently done very little all year. Found familiar. But in the final month, they went all in, only on the important topics they'd identified using this PYQ analysis.
Just the 20%.
And the result?
Scored 93%.
93%. Wow. Just from focusing.
Yeah, it really shows that smart strategic focus can absolutely beat panicked, broad coverage. especially when time is tight.
Okay, so step one deals with the what to study problem, minimizing the load. But you mentioned the retention issue earlier. What good is studying if you forget it all?
Exactly. Which brings us neatly to step 2. This tackles that retention problem head on. The step is think more. Think more. Okay, so if you started late, you've got this mountain of stuff to learn, and just repeating definitions, rote memorization, it doesn't stick long term, does it? You might remember it for an hour, maybe a day, but then,
It's gone. Let's touch on the kind of simple brain science behind that.
hmm,
When you cram, just repeating the exact words from a textbook definition, that info basically goes into your working memory. Think of it like a temporary holding area, like, juggling groceries in your arms. You can hold them for a bit, but you need to put them down somewhere permanent.
so cramming the definition of, I don't know, a displacement reaction right before the test might work for that moment. But if I learned it 4 or 5 days ago that way,
It's probably dropped because it never made the jump from your arms, your working memory, into the filing cabinet, the long-term memory. It wasn't properly filed.
so how do we file it properly?
The brain stores connections and meanings, not just strings of words. So the better technique, sometimes called the Gurukul method, involves visualization and active processing. Instead of just passively reading that definition or repeating it like a parrot, you need to actively translate it.
Translate it. What do you mean?
Okay, take that displacement reaction definition again. Maybe it says, a displacement reaction is one wherein the atom or set of atoms is displaced by another atom in a molecule. Fine. Instead of memorizing that sentence, you read it, you pause, and then you immediately explain the idea to yourself out loud using your own natural thinking language, whatever language you think in.
Ah, I see. So for me, I might read that formal definition, pause, and then maybe say something like, okay, hang on. This basically means like a stronger atom comes along, sees a weaker atom attached to something, and just brutes it out and takes its place. Strong replaces weak.
Exactly. You're processing the concept, making a mental model, creating a file for the idea, not just trying to mimic the textbook sentence structure. And here's a really crucial add-on, a physical element that seriously boosts this.
Physical.
Yeah. While you're explaining the concept out loud to yourself, like you just did, you should actively use physical movement. Move your hands. Gesture.
Oh, interesting. Like literally act out the stronger atom kicking out the weaker one.
Yes. Or whatever movement helps you embody the concept. The source material really emphasized this. When you combine seeing the concept in your own words, that's creating the mental file, with moving your hands or body, that's adding a kinetic memory link, you help your brain cells connect and store that information much, much faster and more securely into long-term memory. It makes it stickier.
That makes sense. It's more active, more engaging for the brain than just staring at a page.
Absolutely. It demands you participate fully. Seriously, try this visualization plus movement technique consistently for just, say, 7 days. You'll likely feel a big difference in how well you recall things.
Okay, great. So, step 1, read less with 80/20. Step 2, think more with visualization and movement. We've tackled what to study and how to remember it. Now for the final hurdle, and honestly maybe the most common one I see. Step 3, eliminate overthinking. This is that self-sabotage cycle, isn't it? Where your brain just floods with what ifs. Can I still get 95%? Did I waste the whole year? What if I fail?
It's incredibly damaging. And to really grasp how damaging, the source used this fantastic, almost slightly absurd story about a boy named Rahul.
Ah, yes, the Rahul story. Tell us about that.
Okay, so Rahul, maybe an 11th grader, asks his parents if he can go to a party one night. His mom's apparently okay with it. But then his dad gets home.
Yeah.
And the dad immediately starts creating these escalating, completely hypothetical worst-case scenarios to basically stop Rahul from going.
Right, like Rahul says, I'll go in my friend's car, and the dad's like,
A car. What if the car has an accident? Just straight to catastrophe.
yeah.
So Rahul, trying to find a solution, says, okay, fine, Dad, no car. I'll take my scooter. The dad doesn't budge.
Yeah.
A scooter. Accidents happen on scooters, too.
This sounds stressful already, so Rahul keeps trying.
He gets desperate. Okay, I'll take my bicycle.
Ooh.
The dad's response. What if the tire bursts somewhere you could fall? Rahul's at his absolute limit. Fine, I'll walk.
Surely walking is okay.
Nope. The dad's final killer hypothetical. Walk. Late at night. What if someone kidnaps you?
Oh, come on, that's just... Wow. So what happened to Rahul?
He just gets completely overwhelmed by this flood of potential disasters, none of which have actually happened, and he gives up, decides to stay home. He stopped putting in the effort to go because his imagination, fed by his dad, created too many scary what-ifs.
Okay, it's a bit funny, but I see the connection. You're saying the dad's ridiculous worrying is exactly like a student's internal panic.
Precisely. The source draws that parallel directly, constantly asking yourself, what if I fail? What if the exam paper is unexpectedly hard? What if I don't get the marks I need? It's the same pattern. Your own mind is playing the role of the overanxious father.
And just like feeling a car crash doesn't stop billions of people driving every day.
Right. Fearing failure shouldn't stop you from putting in the focused effort right now. That constant what-if thinking, it just leads to paralysis. You end up like Rahul, staying home, not even trying.
So what's the fix? When your brain starts that downward spiral, what do you actually do?
The suggested technique is really simple, almost surprisingly so. It's about externalization. Grab a pen and a piece of paper and physically write down those worries. List them out.
Write them down. How does that help?
The simple act of writing forces you to take the swirling, vague fear out of your head and make it concrete on paper. When you actually look at the list, you often realize the fears are hypothetical, maybe exaggerated. You see that the real roadblock isn't usually the actual difficulty of, say, organic chemistry. The real barrier is your own mind, your internal dialogue, trying to trick you into stopping before you even start.
So externalizing it kind of deflates the fear, makes it manageable.
Yeah, it takes away some of its power. And the ultimate step then is to consciously shift your focus. Ignore the hypothetical outcomes for now. Focus entirely on the immediate action. Commit to putting in your absolute best effort today, using the techniques we talked about, the 80-20 focus, the visualization. Do the work. And, let the results be whatever they will be. Control the controllables, which is your effort right now.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. It's about taking action despite the fear, not waiting for the fear to disappear.
Exactly. We've covered the 3 core steps from our deep dive into maximizing preparation time.
Right. So just a quick recap for everyone listening. Step 1 was read less, use that PYQ analysis, find the 80-20, and laser focus on that critical 20% of the syllabus. Don't get buried in unnecessary material.
Step 2 was think more. Ditch the rote memorization. Use visualization. Explain concepts to yourself in your own words. And this is a key. Use physical movement, hand gestures, to help lock that information into your long-term memory.
And finally, step 3, eliminate overthinking. When those what-if spirals start, grab a pen, write down the worries to externalize them. Then, crucially, shift your focus back to putting in your best effort right now.
And it's super important to remember the final point from the material we studied. None of these strategies, no matter how smart they sound, will work without plain old hard work and consistent effort. Strategy is vital, yes, but it needs execution. That combination is what can potentially move you from the average category towards being a topper.
Absolutely. Effort is non-negotiable. So let's leave you with a final thought to chew on today, tying this all together. If that constant worrying about hypothetical failure really is like Rahul's dad fearing a kidnapping every time he walked outside, then what concrete non-hypothetical step are you going to take, maybe even right after listening to this today, to make sure you're focusing your energy squarely on that vital 20% that actually matters most for your exam?
Don't just think about it. Go find that PYQ data or start that chapter analysis. Put step 1 into action right now. Start the hard work.